Sorry. Hi, Sheila, it's Ted. Tell the officer that I'm paying his utility bill, sending him some money through his checking account, but he's not speaking to me. He's not responding message unit, etc. The officer can break in. What else to say?
Okay, there it is.
Yay. Yay, da dice. Is it on? Yay, da da da, yay, yay. Yay, da da, yay, yay. Yay, da da, yay, yay. Yay, da, yay, da da, yay. Yay, da da, yay, da. Yay, da da, yay, yay. Yay, da da, yay, yay. Yay, 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 yay.
Thank you, Chaplain Fran Charlin, for a lovely melody to bring us into this difficult time. I'm Rabbi Mark Goldfarb from Temple Beth Or. I know it is on. All right. We come together this afternoon to honor the life and the memory of Laura Cutler. We are truly deeply, deeply saddened by the death of this life-loving, this caring, this trusting woman. We assemble with Joyce and Michael and all the family in the shadow that has darkened their lives. We need light when darkness covers our lives. To whom shall we look if not to the creator of light? We need fortitude and courage when pain and loss assail us. Where shall we find them if not in the thought of the one who preserves all that is good from destruction? Who among us has not passed through trials and bereavements? Indeed, many of us still bear fresh wounds and so know the kinship of sorrow. But there is something all the more tragic with this sorrow. Somehow we sense a law has been broken where a parent has to bury their child. Yes, all things pass. Yes, all that lives must die. Yes, all that we prize is but lent to us, and there are times when we must surrender it. But there's a sense of unfairness. Yet we are travelers on the same road that leads to the same end. This is a time of memory. Wounded by loss, we retreat from life. Here we gather to share stories, prayers, unanswered questions, tears that need to be shed. We recall a life now carried within us, moments of courage, of laughter, and of pain. We embrace them all. Our hearts open in sorrow, and we are all time's subjects. And all that we love, we must surrender. So let us hold fast to the love that remains and cherish the light of the sun even while walking through the valley, the shadow of death. Today we all walk the mourner's path. May we find comfort and strength from those who gather by our sides. And may the stories we share today and tomorrow and the next day, may those stories weave for us a blanket of comfort. We who remember are artists. We are aerialists on a swinging trapeze, letting go of one ring to catch hold of another. Hold on and let go. A subtle duality that endows our life with meaning, neither denying the past nor foreclosing the future. We are part of the flow of life, the divine process, which gives and takes, creates and retains. We too must give. We too must take. We must seize hold, and we must also release. Rabbi Alvin Fine wrote, "Birth is a beginning, and death is a destination. But life is a journey, a going, a growing from stage to stage, from childhood to maturity and youth to age, from innocence to awareness and ignorance to knowing, from foolishness to discretion and then perhaps to wisdom, from weakness to strength or strength to weakness and often back again, from health to sickness and back we pray to health again, from offense to forgiveness, from loneliness to love, from joy to gratitude, from pain to compassion, and grief to understanding, from fear to faith, from defeat to defeat to defeat, until looking backward or ahead, we see that victory lies not at some high place along the way, but rather in having made the journey stage by stage, a sacred pilgrimage. Birth is a beginning and death a destination, but life is a journey, a sacred pilgrimage made stage by stage, from birth to death to life everlasting. In scriptures in Kohelet, we read L'chol zman v'etz, L'chol chefetz tachat hashamayim. For everything, there is a season, a time for every experience under heaven. And this is a time of remembering. For it is through remembering that we show gratitude for a life that has been but loaned to us. And so let us apply the healing ointment of memory to our wounded hearts. I first met Laura when I became the rabbi of Temple Beth Or in 2008. And there is so much more to Laura than these past 14 years. And rather than share the echoes that I have heard of the stories about Laura, let's turn to those who've known Laura best and hear directly from their words and weave for ourselves a blanket of comfort with these memories. I begin with Laura's cousins. We start with Andrew first, if Andrew is, okay, Andrew and Beth. Andrew and Beth.
That's the mic, not my bones. Okay, just so you know. When you're asked to talk at a funeral, your immediate reaction is to freeze and worry. Are you going to say the right thing? Well, I kind of looked at this in two ways. First, it's a time where my family has to listen to me. That's a good thing. And secondly, with Laura, it's different because so you know, whatever you're going to say, everyone is going to say that. Laura was consistently kind to everyone, whether you knew her or not. She cared deeply about her family and her friends, always asking about what they were doing. She was forgiving to everyone. Well, almost everyone. Last week, she said to me that she wasn't going to forgive that person that made her horse buck and caused her to break her arm. I don't know why she held that grudge when it was her parents who didn't take her to the doctor for 2 days because they didn't believe her when she said she had broken her arm. So personally, I think she should have forgiven that person, whoever it may be. We've all witnessed how well Michael has cared for his sister. He gave her whatever she wanted. Well, that actually started when we were kids. We were always nice to Laura, especially right before we went to Disneyland. We needed her e-tickets. Disneyland was a place where a lot of our memories took place as kids. Laura liked all the A-ticket rides, except for It's a Small World. That was her favorite ride. A few years ago, Michael, Joyce, my sister Debbie, Laura, and I went to Disneyland. So many great memories flooded back until Michael ruined it. You see, Laura's favorite ride, It's a Small World, she wanted to go on it. So of course we did. In fact, we went around once and Laura said, I want to go again. And the staff was great. They accommodated us and we went again.
Hello.
When the ride started, Laura reprimanded Michael for not singing the first time. We had to ride that ride over and over again until Michael sang the words the right way. It was at that moment that I realized that Laura had Michael wrapped around her finger.
Yep.
I love you so much, Michael, but I don't know that I want to go to Disneyland with you again.
Hello?
After visiting with Laura, she always left me thinking about how appreciative she was with what she had. And that appreciation allowed her to be happy. Thank you, Laura, for many life lessons and for the strength you gave to everyone around you. And thank you, Joyce, for having such a close relationship with my mother, that relationship allowed Laura, Michael, and my siblings and I to have the same strong bond. I love you both very much, and Laura, of course.
I'm paying all of his utilities, and I have been sending him money.
Wonderful. Beth and Andrew, thank you so much. We continue with Laura's favorite brother, Michael.
And who closed the books on it, because Steve was not providing all the information properly.
I do have something here that
Yeah,
my
hospital?
ex-wife, who was a very big part of our family. We were married for a long time, and since our divorce, we've remained friends. And even with my new wife, Camille, we're just one big happy family. So this is from Sherry Cutler. Laura was my sister-in-law for many, many years. The love I have for her is enormous. Over the years, Laura has faced many challenges, and she was always up for the challenge. Her determination and her fighting spirit, I gave her a nickname. I called her the Energizer Bunny. She keeps going and going and going. That's Laura for sure. It didn't matter what life threw at her. She tackled it head on with strength and courage. I was able to spend several days with Laura before she passed on. Actually, she was there up until Saturday as Laura passed Sunday morning.
Yeah.
Before Laura passed on, she fought hard to the end, and that little Energizer Bunny did it with a smile on her face up until the very end. We reminisced, laughed, cried, and laughed some more. We sang, "It's a Small World After All,"
No.
from the ride at Disneyland that she loved so
I have
very
a brother
much.
that has a medical
I never
problem.
forgot how she'd yell my name when I would walk into the room and see her, and always with a huge smile on her face. My beautiful Energizer Bunny, thank you for your love for me, your big heart, your courage, determination, strength, and even more courage. I'm blessed to have had the absolute privilege of having you in my life for 33 years. You will be missed. Thank you for the memories. I'll never forget you, Laura Cutler Cathane. I love you to the moon and back. So I have a saying, a motto that I live by, and that is to not put off to not put off tomorrow what can be done today, because you never know what tomorrow might bring. Unfortunately, I broke that rule, as I really didn't want to write what I'm about to say right now. So as it is, I did it on the drive over here today. It might be a little jarbled, but this is from my heart. Laura, where do I begin? Laura was a great sister when we were growing up. She had some special needs, but that never prevented her from being a loving, caring, and giving person. Laura is the person who would give you her last dollar to anybody who was in need, no matter what, no questions. In our adult years, I moved to Idaho when I was 25 and Laura was 27, but that never kept us apart. My frequent trips with my now ex-wife, Sherry, and the grandkids, we'd always include Laura in the activities. Universal Studios, Disneyland, and of course, I would take her to Venice to get her special chocolate. We loved going to the hockey games, the Lakers, and of course, her favorite team, the Dodgers. When we were out on those adventures, and I do mean adventures, because every time with Laura, it was an adventure. Laura would always make friends. She would chat it up with anybody and everybody that would listen. Laura never met a stranger she didn't love. And I feel also very fortunate that I got that trait, and I do the same. And when I do, from now on, I'll think about Laura. Laura is a fighter. She never gave up. I said to her so often when she was in the hospital with complications of this and that, Laura, Cutlers are not quitters. She would always smile and say, "Oh, brother, thank you." Even when the odds were stacked totally against her, she would come over all adversities with a smile on her face and a positive attitude. Although her attitude wasn't positive all the time. I remember a trip going to the Long Beach Aquarium with Laura and my stepdaughter, Lauren. Laura had a meltdown in the car, and Lauren told her something that I've told her many times before is, "Tell me 3 things positive right now." Laura stopped crying, was quiet, and said, "Well, I didn't poop my pants today." We all started to laugh, and it made the trip home much, much more pleasant. Laura had no filter. She said what was on her mind, good and bad. I was lucky enough to be able to spend the last year being able to come from Boise and stay more often with Laura and Mom. I cherish those days with memories of fun, laughter, and love. I love to bring Laura everything that she wasn't supposed to have: candy, cake, goodies. And during those times, we had some of the best times. Also, whenever she was in the hospital, which was quite frequent, I taught her something about what to tell the doctors and nurses. When they ask you, "Laura, what's your pain?" you always tell them 10. That way you get the good stuff. But as Laura's condition declined, I knew the time with my sister was coming close to an end. I had one last talk with her Friday night, telling her that it's okay and you can go. You fought with valor, strength, and everything you had. But now it's time to rest, relax. And I know that because you will not be physically here with us anymore, we will all feel your loving warmth and love forever. In closing, I would like to acknowledge some family that were there for Laura, always, without any questions. Camille, my wife, Sherry, my ex-wife, Cousin Beth, and Cousin Debbie. And of course, Laura's second mother, Libby. Mom, you are on the top of the list for everything you did to take care of my sister. But Libby, Laura's caregiver, words would do an injustice for what you have been to Laura. and our family. Libby, you were with her 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and I don't know how you did it without drinking. And because of you, Libby, Laura was the most happy all the time. We can never thank you enough for your love and dedication.
It's in here.
Laura loved you with all of her heart and even more. Libby, I know you are in pain now, but please feel the love of Laura's warmth on you in the coldest days, and feel her comfort you for the rest of your life. Laura, enjoy the ride, and know we all love you and we will never forget about you. Thank you.
Nicely said, Michael.
Thank you very much, Mike, for sharing such moving words from your heart about your sister. Laura was certainly no stranger to challenges. She faced her own set of demons, her own set of difficulties. And yet through it all, she had the love and support of friends, of family, but most importantly, of a dedicated mother who not only took on the challenge of being a mom, but also being a caregiver and learning about the challenges her daughter was facing so that she would be an even better mom and a better advocate for her daughter. We've saved sort of the best for last as I invite Joyce to share a few words about her daughter.
Wow. Is this in the right position? I'm only 5'4".
We got you.
Okay,
Yeah, you might have to move that over.
okay. This is not easy. Okay, all right. I'm going to read what I wrote. Don't panic, it's only 6 pages, but I used very large type. Okay, where does a parent, especially a mother, start working on a eulogy for a daughter? Never would be my first answer. A parent should never have to bury a child. Okay, I'm okay. But life plays some very funny tricks on all of us. The old Yiddish expression, and Fran, I should have had you say it for me because I keep forgetting, even though my bubby said it a million times. We plan and God laughs. God must be smiling now that he has one very special human in his midst. How do I start describing Laura? Boy. First of all, she was unique, very special, and very unpredictable. She was responsible for my going into teaching special education. Her pediatrician described her as ADHD before that term was even known. I wanted to know how to better cope with such an active child, so my path was set. As a young child, Laura loved the family. That was so important to her, especially the annual family reunions with all of her aunts, uncles, cousins, and even extended family. She looked forward to visiting both sets of grandparents who doted on her. Actually, family was very, very important to Laura. When she loved you, you knew it. She loved with 100% of her being. She demonstrated love to all that she cared about. And in return, she knew how much she was loved. And she really did. There was not a soul that she didn't like and care about, even strangers. And if they had a dog on their walk or a cat in their hand, God bless them. They would be tied up with Laura with a conversation about everything. She wore her heart on her sleeve, and what you saw was what you got. There was nothing phony about Laura. I never heard her say a bad word about anyone. Laura had many interests. She was a devoted Kings hockey fan. As a matter of fact, her hockey Build-A-Bear, hockey large stuffed animal is in the coffin with her. It's going with her to wherever she's going. When she lived in Long Beach, she took the Red Line train to Staples Center for the Kings games. She had to call me when she got home around midnight to let me know that she made it back okay. She was so brave to travel the train at night, even if I told her it was dangerous. She had no fear. She would recite the stats of each Kings hockey player and knew details about so many other team players. Her Build-A-Bear doll is going to be with her as she makes this transition. If anyone mentioned the Ducks, such as her brother, just to tease her, she would make a face and do raspberries and say the Kings were still better.
That's right.
She was a Dodgers fan through and through. She loved going to the games at Dodger Stadium with Mike when he came in. Her brother would buy her every souvenir and food available, and she bragged to me about how he spoiled her. Thank you, Mike, for being the one who spoiled Laura the most, and for being such a good and kind brother to her. It's coming. It's coming. I think it's coming. Her love of nature and concern for the environment was over the top and extremely important to her. Last year, I had booked something that was on her bucket list, a cruise to Alaska with a company called Dialysis at Sea, so that she would be dialyzed on her regular time and still be able to take this cruise. She was so excited when her passport arrived and the reality of this trip set in. She so looked forward to seeing the glaciers and the animals. She told me that the cruise would give us quality time together without any limits on my time. She looked forward to just the two of us traveling together. Laura was passionate about everything. She was not wishy-washy about things that were important to her. She would reprimand me if I accidentally threw a soda can in the trash rather than in the recycle bin. She told me that she wanted to volunteer at the Long Beach animal shelter, but changed her mind when she found out that they euthanize animals after a period of time there. She cried and said she just couldn't bear seeing that happen. Laura loved food of all kinds. That is probably one of the biggest understatements I could make about Laura. She was addicted to the Food Channel and often would call me to tell me the best way to make a roast. As a diabetic, She was always looking for ways to adapt recipes like cauliflower mashed instead of potatoes.
Computer audio.
On her bucket list was to eat in some famous
computer
chef's
audio.
restaurant in either Las Vegas or New York.
They got it. They just
Maybe
telling me
now
it's
she's
recorded.
feasting on some gourmet meal with one of her famous chefs somewhere else. Our weekly Sunday outings and after each and every doctor's appointments, of which there were many, we always went out to either lunch or dinner. We took turns selecting Japanese, Mexican, Thai, Italian, American, or whatever we were passing in the car at that time. Crab and fried calamari were often her choice for a light lunch with me. She was very adventurous in trying new foods. We both felt that our time after each doctor's appointment and our Sundays together were our special time together. A few years back, after having her first leg amputated due to complications of diabetes, she told me that she wanted to make a video for those people diagnosed with diabetes. She wanted to warn them of what could happen if they did not take care of themselves. She said she never wanted anyone to go through what she went through. Another example of her unselfish personality and thinking of others. She never had that opportunity to start that project. I need another Kleenex hanky. Hold on. Nope, got it. Her smile could light up a room. When any of my friends saw Laura, she would always reassure them that she knew they were her friends also. When she and Molly bonded as good friends, they often would call each other on the phone. Laura would call me and tell me, I called Miss Molly today and she says hi. And don't forget to pick her up for temple on Friday. She had nicknames for her special friends. She told me that she is the only one who could call her caregiver. She was the only one that could call Libby by the special name of Libs. Yes, my daughter felt very loved and accepted by my temple family, as well as my non-temple friends. For that, I thank each and every one of you for making her feel so special. Actually, she was special in so many positive, wonderful ways. During the time that Laura lived in the board and care home, Libby and Emmer treated her like family. She and Libby called each other by so many pet names, as well as Sissy. Thank you for giving Laura so much love and making her a part of your loving family. You both added so much to her life, and I cannot thank you enough. You truly helped extend her life with your care and concern. Her love for both of you was a constant reminder of how special you are. The moose and Winnie the Pooh on top of Laura's casket were gifts from Flo and Mark Bornstein, Diana Brown, and Victoria Jacobs. Laura took all three of them whenever she went into the hospital. I thought they had gotten lost, but I found them this morning. And I would like to have each of you come up and please take a memento of Laura. You want to do that now? Yeah. And I'll explain about the hat. I made that hat for Laura because I just did. And when she was out, and I'm pushing her in her wheelchair, and if she ever got a compliment about that hat, rather than say thank you, she would say, my mother made that for me. And in my heart, I knew how much she cared about me. I think I've said enough and have given you just a teeny tiny snapshot and insight into the personality of this very brave, courageous, and beautiful young woman. I'm so proud to have called Laura my amazing, vivacious, wonderful, happy daughter. Laura, I will miss you terribly, but I know that you are not dreading going to dialysis and fighting me and Libby about it, and certainly no longer in pain, but in a much better place with Dawn, someone who also truly loved you. Mom.
Oh,
Yeah.
When I spoke, I did not express, because it just goes without saying. My mom was my sister's heart. She did everything for my sister and sacrificed so much for so many years. And I'm very proud of my mom. And I have something that I'm going to give to her. It is a necklace. You can see it later when it's around her neck, but it's two hearts combined as one to symbolize that my mom and my sister are one now and forever. I love you, Mom.
Thank you. Thank you.
Joyce, thank you so much for sharing so much about Laura, your daughter. I think we can understand where Laura got a lot of that strength.
Mhm.
For a parent to stand up here and to speak as you spoke takes an incredible amount of courage and inner strength. Indeed, strength is what we saw with Laura on so many occasions. As she rose to the challenges that she faced, she became for many a catalyst, bringing out the best in others through herself and helping us all understand that gift of unconditional love, awareness of the world around us, and appreciation of the little things. Once in the hospital, she was not able to eat and she was craving soup. She was able to eat ice chips. And so we named each ice chip a different flavor of soup. There was chicken noodle, chicken and matzo ball. There was tomato bisque, which became one of her obsessions, each chip. And she would smile and giggle and sometimes say, that one needed more salt. Joyce shared something with me about Laura's ability to see the world in Laura's way. And it's just such a catchy phrase. Joyce said to me, Laura saw the pony through all the horse shit. Where others would have focused on those piles, Laura knew those piles came from someplace. And that's where her focus was. In spite of those challenges and the demons that she fought, she was able to see joy in life, love in others, and became that catalyst for so many of us. May we all find strength and comfort from each other. And may we be comforted in the knowledge that Laura now rests in peace. In Olam Haba, the world to come, Laura has been gathered to her kin. Merritt Malloy wrote, "When I die, give what's left of me away to children and to old men that wait to die. And if you need to cry, cry for your brother walking the street beside you. And when you need me, put your arms around anyone and give them what you need to give me. I want to leave you something better than words, better than sounds. Look for me. Look for me in the people I've known and the people I've loved. And if you cannot give me away, at least let me live in your eyes and not in your mind. You can love me most by letting hands touch hands, by letting bodies touch bodies, and by letting go of children that need to be free. Love doesn't die. People do. So when all that's left of me is love, give me away." Love is the theme of this traditional prayer I share, the El Malei Rachamim. It speaks of God as a loving and compassionate being, and yet this prayer is recited when we are often overcome and overwhelmed with very powerful emotions. But in the wisdom of our rabbis and our tradition is an important lesson. For the opposite of love is not hate. Ask any child, any parent, any sibling, any spouse, any partner. The opposite of love is apathy. And where there's apathy, there is no grief, there's no pain, there's no feeling of loss, no feeling of abandonment. But neither is there any joy or laughter or love. We live in a world blessed by God's love, and so we live in a world with these very powerful and painful emotions. May this prayer be a catalyst for us, just as Laura was a catalyst in life, as I invite us to rise as we are able for this prayer. El Malei Rachamim Shochein Bamromim Amtei Menucha Nechona Tachat Kanfei Hashchina Im Kedoshim Toharim Kizohar Haraki Amaziri Et Nishmat Yakirenu V'Yididenu Vitenu achotenu shehachala olama. Began Eden tehimanuchata. Baal harachamim. Yastireha beseter kanafecha leolamim. Vitzor bitzor achayim et nishmata. Adonai hu nachalata. V'tanuach beshalom al mishkava. v'nomar amen. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to our beloved Laura Cutler Cathane, who has entered eternity.
Let it in really.
O God of mercy, let her find refuge in your eternal presence, and there, in the shadow of your wings, may her soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is her inheritance. May Laura rest in peace, and let us all say, Amen.
Amen.
We may be seated. This concludes our chapel service for Laura. We will follow the instructions as we recess and process to the gravesite.
Thank you, Rabbi. As we're coming to a conclusion, I'm going to be asking everybody to rise in just a moment. Once we get out to the parking structure, everybody's going to be driving out to the cemetery and following just behind the coach. So if I could have everybody rise, me and my associate are going to take the casket out to the hearse, and then everybody will follow behind. So I can have everybody rise, please.